Anna? Anna, are you okay, love?
In terms of the cast, Martin Stallard was pretty much always in my head for the main character, Gareth. I'd worked with Martin on Curb Crawlers, which was our third feature film. And I knew him before that as a filmmaker. He's a writer, director, and a filmmaker in his own right.
Well, I've always written stuff and been in them, but I've always sort of done sort of comedy, short films or whatever, or played a comedic part in other features. And the idea of playing Gareth was nice because it was a chance to do a purely dramatic role with no comedy involved, and just to play just sort of someone who was not as nice a person as I would normally play. It's the last one. Can you help join me when I'm finished? She needs blood, people blood. If not us, then who?
So the opportunity to work with Martin on that, I thought was quite an obvious fit. Now, it turns out he was actually quite nervous about it because he tends to do comedic roles. In Curb Crawlers, he plays quite a comedic role.
You know, you gotta love a late night DIY store. You meet a different class of people.
And so we had a number of chats in advance where, I talked through with him the role and everything. And was really pleased when we actually started rolling to actually kind of see him develop and really kind of play some of those dramatic notes.
Martin, who played Gareth, he's a great guy and a really good actor, and he pulled off some fantastic performances. We worked with Martin before, so we knew what we were going to get, and he knew what he was going to get. And it was a pleasure to work with Martin. He had such a good attitude, and even though it was quite a intense role for him to play at times, he didn't turn into a diva and start wanting his own trailer.
I think my favourite bit was probably Martin. In some of his performances was really good, especially the emotional stuff. He did a really good job, and I know I saw him do it. But like when you put it on the screen, it comes out of the screen for me. I mean, it really does sort of hit you.
The role of Jen was actually a really difficult one because I didn't have anybody in mind off the top of my head, and it was actually James Morrissey who suggested Stacey Daly. Now, Stacey I'd worked with at the time about 11 years previous on the first short I ever did coming to South Wales called Acts of Godzilla. And it's one of those things where, she was an amazing actress, but because I'd worked with her 11 years ago, I just didn't think of her as being old enough to play a mum. And no offense, Stacey, but 11 years on, maybe she was around about that age now to play a mum type character.
Hello, my name is Stacey Daly, and I play the role of Jen in Little Monster.
I know it's my turn, but I don't think I can do it again. Gareth.
Okay. Just need a moment. Got up too fast.
Oh, we can't keep doing this, Gareth.
So what attracted me to the film and the character of Jen was first and foremost the script. I loved the idea of, I love horror. I love the genre of horror anyway. But what I loved about this is the fact that it's exploring the moral dilemma that you can be faced with in terms of a child. The film explores how far two parents are prepared to go to keep their child with them, alive and well. And I really loved the fact that that added another dimension to the horror genre of it, because it's the conflict that those characters face which really interested me. And also, I was very attracted to the idea of working again with James. James and I had worked together a really, really long time ago, and it was great. So it was an opportunity to work with him again, but also to see how we changed both as a director in terms of James and me as an actress, to see how that dynamic would work again.
Stacey was great. I'd never met her before. She was there on, I think we started filming, we did a week without her, and then she came in on the second week and she was just bang on. She was her character, and it was amazing, and it was just a lovely sort of support mechanism.
Working with Martin, who played Gareth, neither of us had known each other until we started shooting. And we just clicked straight away, I think, which is really lovely because, like I said before, going back to having when you've got no time really to do anything, you've just got to get stuck in. And I think we were both coming at the characters and the script from the same place. So we just gelled, and we would have some chats before filming the particular scene. We'd be like, what do you think's happening in this? Or what do you think's happening in this? We'd run some lines, and it just felt very natural working with him.
Stacey Daly, who we've worked with before, a true professional. You know, there was no real issues with Stace. She just got on with it. Even when we had some troublesome days, again, no diva antics. A true professional, knew her role, knew her lines, and delivered a fantastic performance.
Who was that?
Work.
Well,
They've invited me to a disciplinary.
when?
Day after tomorrow.
What time?
Doesn't matter, I'm not going.
But Gareth, you'll lose your job.
In terms of the character of Anna, who's kind of the child that gets bitten in the film, that was definitely a challenge, and that was something that we kind of factored in very early on in terms of almost how to shoot round my daughter. We decided to cast my daughter Belle, basically because, I mean, she was very much in my head when I wrote the book initially. And I knew there were certain things that she could handle, and I also knew there were certain things I didn't want to put her through, so I had it clearly in my head, you know, how to shoot round her and, you know, how we could not have her on set for certain bits was the plan. But when we actually got around to shooting, I think she enjoyed herself far too much. So there's some great behind the scenes stills taken where I'm directing parts of the film with a 7-year-old girl having a piggyback, which was amazing for my posture, as you can imagine. And you know what? I don't think you ever see Scorsese directing a film while giving a piggyback, so take that, Marty. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge. There were certain things where I think she was phased because we had a lot of people on set. And on the first day, I know there was a brief wobble from her, which then caused, I think, all of us to kind of stop and think, okay, well, you know, this isn't something that she's used to doing, and breaking it down and explaining to her exactly what we want to do. So it was just another challenge as a director to be able to communicate to a different actor what we needed to get from the scene, and explain it in, you know, as simple language as possible. She was fascinated by the whole process, and she just wanted to be there and see, you know, all the stuff that we got up to. But as I say, when it came down to it, for 9 times out of 10, she was on set the whole damn time.
For such a young girl in a house of crazy filmmakers and blood and fake scars and stuff, she coped quite well with it, and she did a brilliant job. So yeah, we had a really good, real good trio.
This is the first time I've worked in a film with child actors. Again, really different set of issues. But Belle was absolutely fantastic. You know, she loved it. She took on board what was going on. She was really, you know, she was great. And you know, even seasoned actors, when you're filming so much in 8 days, you know, it's a testing time for anyone. But Belle was fantastic.
She's an amazing little girl and a lovely little actress. She was quite shy with me at first, so it took a while, I think, for her to trust me and to warm up with me. But yeah, she's great.
What you've done? You fucker, you sick fucking fucker!
So because the film itself is pretty much centered on the two parents, 90% of the film is very much spent with them in this household. We do see some other smaller supporting characters. And again, that was an opportunity to rework with a lot of the people that we'd worked with time and time again, including Matthew Batt, a really fun, talented actor who we'd worked with way back when on Silent Night, Bloody Night, brought back for Curb Crawlers.
Don't worry, you'll see. Take it into the middle, guys.
And it was great to bring him in for a small role in the character of Ian. Mel Stevens as well. We had her for I think a whirlwind visit of about 30 minutes, but again she managed to blast out her scene. And Rose Granger, who again I think has been in pretty much everything I've done since 2006. So it was great to kind of work with those people again and bring them in for mostly I think it was a day here or there.
Because it was a really knockabout scene, and we got to do sort of a little bit of comedy, in which in that film, in Little Monster, it was it was few and far between. So there's moments of levity and just running around, running upstairs, punching and hitting each other and shoving, and it was really fun scene to do. Get away from her!
My favourite scene in the film is a scene which takes place quite towards the end of the film. It's basically a scene between Jen and Gareth, and it's at a point where, sort of a penultimate point in the film really, where they're both exhausted, completely conflicted in terms of the moral dilemma that they're faced with. And both Martin and I hadn't really discussed how we were going to even play that scene. And what I really loved about it is it could have been played very forcefully, but what ended up happening quite naturally is that it was played very intimately and quite tender. And I remember thinking when we were filming it that this film was actually so much more than a horror film. It had become a film really about people and characters and relationships, and actually lots of other things like pain and grief and loss, even at that point. And that's where I actually thought, wow, this has got so much more dimensions to it now, this film. This is not just horror, this is going beyond something else, and it's rich. So that was my favourite scene.
It's okay, sweetie. Mummy's here. Mummy loves you so much.